5 सदियों का संघर्ष और 13 दशक से ज़्यादा देश की अदालतों का संघर्ष, और फिर अंत में ये तय हुआ, ये सुनिश्चित हुआ कि अयोध्या में श्री राम जन्मभूमि पर उन्हीं का अधिकार है। श्री रामलला विराजमान वहीं हैं, वहीं रहेंगे। अब जब ये सब कुछ हो चुका है और हिंदू समाज के, सनातन समाज के पुनर्जागरण का एक नया अध्याय शुरू होने जा रहा है, इससे पहले इस सारे विधिक मामले को सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जिस तरह से लड़ा गया और बाद में 40 दिन की रोज़ाना सुनवाई, बहुत कुछ इंटरेस्टिंग होगा, बहुत कुछ रुचिकर होगा ये जानना समझना। और हमारे साथ इस सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जो रामलला के सखा जो थे, उन टोली के प्रमुख डॉक्टर CS वैद्यनाथन हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं। सर, बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। इस भारत को आपने और आपकी टोली ने जो दिया, वो शायद इतिहास है, वो लिखा जाएगा। तो जब जब बात होगी आपका नाम भी होगा, आपकी टोली में बहुत लोग हैं उनका भी नाम होगा। इसलिए लोग, इस देश के लोग जो शायद अदालतों की प्रक्रिया को नहीं समझते, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में मामला 2011 से 10 के बाद से शुरू हुआ, वहाँ से लेकर के लगभग आपको 9 साल उस केस को लड़ने में लगे। पहली बार कब लगा कि ये मामला आपके पक्ष में जा रहा है? कितना मुश्किल था शुरुआत में इसको शुरू करना, क्योंकि हाई कोर्ट ने तो कह दिया था कि बांट दीजिए ज़मीन। वो कैसे चला, थोड़ा ये समझाइए।
आपने कहा इतिहास का एक इसमें रहेगा, ये तो ऑफ कोर्स ये डिवाइन ब्लेसिंग है। हमें अपॉर्चुनिटी मिला, हमारा पूरा टीम मिस्टर पराशरन का लीडरशिप में और entire legal team was totally committed and devoted to the cause, and it's the hard work that has brought about the result. इसमें 2010 में जब हाई कोर्ट जजमेंट आया, उसके बाद दिस वाज अ judgment where one could really not see any solution, and you can't possibly divide the land into three, particularly when it's sacred land for the Hindus, considered sacred in their faith and belief as the Ram Janmabhoomi. Therefore, उसमें जब SLP फाइल हुआ and we got the notice issued and thereafter leave, काफ़ी अटेम्प्ट हुआ कि somehow or other the hearing gets delayed. उसमें हमारा थोड़ा we were feeling bad about it because we wanted early solution. कई अटेम्प्ट किया उन्होंने कि ये hearing सुनवाई नहीं होगा, but ultimately thanks to the Supreme Court ये 40 days आपने जो कहा continuous hearing हुआ। रिजॉइंडर के समय जब ये at one point last 2-3 days जब कोर्ट ने पूछा कैसे इसका रिलीफ कैसे मोल्ड करेंगे, क्या रिलीफ दे सकते हैं इसमें, कैसे, then we could sense that I think thanks to the divine intervention we have been able to persuade the court. इसमें मेन चीज़ देखिए, 200 साल से केस चलता रहा, almost 200 years. After independence, the new case which was instituted in 49, उसमें भी 70 साल लगा. I think it's thanks to the movement and the where we could see, the court could also see the faith and belief of the people was so much that they got convinced that this is a matter where some kind of interference is needed. There was adequate historic material, archaeological material, and I think one significant piece of evidence which we were able to capitalize on was on account of the archaeological survey which was done, which showed clearly that there has been a place of religious importance. I wouldn't call it a temple really, because that's a matter which came to be established later, from as far back as from the 2nd century BC. Over a period of time, it had been developed, improvements had been made. I think this gave considerable strength to the conviction of the judges also. See, ultimately, judges go by their sense of dharma, their sense of justice, and their instinct in that regard will have to be strengthened by concrete material. And I think the fact that there was a temple complex dating back 22 centuries, I think that gave them a solid foundation to build upon, and the evidence was available. I think, and we were able to present evidence to show that people who had visited, not merely people from India, but from abroad, who had come and seen, had seen the faith and devotion of people who used to come and see. Therefore, the fact that Ram Lalla is a deity, is a divinity, is a personality, as a person has a right, I think that conviction came. As lawyers, we attempted, and Mr. President, myself, and amongst others, we tried to convince the court that even the place itself, like Kailash, Mount Kailash, or a river, can have attributes of divinity, can be a deity. That step the court was not prepared to accept. Maybe they had apprehensions on account of Krishna Janmabhoomi or Kashi Vishwanath. Anyway, that's a matter still in the courts. We may still succeed in that. But so far as Ram Lalla Virajman, they accepted as a deity. Huge number of people had faith and devotion and used to come and do parikrama. And even when there was a mosque which had been put up during the Mughal rule, Aurangzeb, either during Babur's time or subsequently during Aurangzeb's time, whatever. Historically, they were not able to establish the exact period. But whatever it was, conviction in the minds of the people, of the Hindu people, did not sway. And they used to continue to worship. There was enough evidence which was produced. I think these things really mattered to the court. And therefore, though they were deciding strictly a property dispute, they also see the futility of the directions which had been given by the High Court, that you give partly to Muslim, partly to Hindus, and partly to those who claim that they were actually looking after the temple. Now, I think the ultimate order which has been passed, I think, is in the best interests of the entire country. Not merely the Hindu community, but also in the interests of all the persons, including the Muslims, because you can't have continuous situation where there will be everyday scuffles and problems. Therefore, this, I think, is a peaceful solution which was evolved by the Supreme Court. And that message is what I would really like to convey to all the people in the country, that this is the kind of solution which we should strive for, even in regard to Mathura and Kashi. I think ultimately we all have to live together. And I think it is in the interest of all the people that places of such huge divine significance for the Hindus should not be kept away from them for worship, which they are rightfully entitled to. And so we will have to look at it from that perspective also. The court, I think, we were all one. God chose us as instruments, not that we were by any thing spectacular in the profession, but I think God chose people for whatever reason. That's His blessing. Number two, we had excellent leadership in Parasaranji, and the entire team, I think some of them, some of the members of the team are today judges in Supreme Court, High Court, Advocates General, Additional Advocates General, they are all, I mean, been blessed by the divine will. And therefore, I think the huge amount of effort, and they, during the 40 days that the case was going on, each one of them worked to produce material overnight, because questions will come from court. And we had to be ready with the answers. They all worked overnight and produced the material and gave us. And without that, we would not have been in a position to argue. I think it was a huge team effort which ultimately succeeded.
इतना बड़ा सब कुछ हुआ और उसके पीछे आपकी जो भी मेहनत थी, अब इस मेहनत को आप किस तरह से देखते हो? आपने एक्सप्लेन किया कि ब्लेसिंग्स हैं, लेकिन इस सब से जो होने जा रहा है उसमें आपकी मेहनत भी है और आप जो आगे लोग कर रहे हैं, इससे देश में क्या बदलेगा? आपको कोई ऐसा बड़ा बदलाव होते दिखता है? एक बात तो मुझे समझ में आती है कि एक सनातन के पुनरुत्थान का एक नया चैप्टर है, ये नया अध्याय है, ये इतना हमें समझ में आता है, क्योंकि इसके लिए लंबा संघर्ष है। अब आगे एक संघर्ष की बात आएगी तो ये भी कोर्ट होगा बार बार। क्या कुछ बदलेगा? क्योंकि प्राण प्रतिष्ठा मुझे लगता है आपके हमारे जीवन में, शायद जीवन में एक ही बार हम देख पाएंगे। क्या बदलने वाला है इस भारतवर्ष में?
हम तो समझते हैं ये, आई थिंक it signifies establishment of Ram Rajya. Ram Rajya for the benefit of the entire country, for the benefit of all the people. This is a message. I think ultimately we are all united in the effort to advance the country and advance, I mean, economic status and social attainments of the people. Ram Rajya का मतलब यही है कि ultimately people should live in happiness. People should be comfortable. People should live in happiness without much of law and order problems. That's the message. I think that is exactly what we are all looking forward to after establishment of this.
इंटरेस्टिंग। आपने कुछ कहा था कि कुछ कॉन्क्रीट मटेरियल होना चाहिए जो आपने कोर्ट में रखा। वो कॉन्क्रीट मटेरियल किस तरह का है? क्योंकि दो तरह की बातें हम समझते हैं। आर्कियोलॉजिकल के कुछ एविडेंस थे, कुछ एक सालों से चीज़ें चली आ रही थी, अरसे से चीज़ें चली आ रही थी, एक वो था, और एक तीसरा मामला है आस्था का, बिलीफ का, मेरा विश्वास है। तो ये कौन सी कॉन्क्रीट चीज़ें थी जिस पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजेस कन्विंस थे?
अपार्ट फ्रॉम फेथ एंड बिलीफ, आई थिंक हिस्टोरिकल मटेरियल, एक तो हिस्टोरिकल मटेरियल जब विच शोड that this place was a place of huge significance for the Hindus for worship. दूसरा architecture, archaeological material. ये दोनों, this goes to support the fact that people, they don't go idly and worship any place. If they go and worship some particular place, जैसे माउंट कैलाश जाते हैं या और कहीं जाते हैं, these are people, therefore these are places of significance. Even though there was a mosque, if people still go there and continue to worship and do parikrama, then unless that place has some huge significance, nobody will do this. So that's the divine power, divine will, and the divinity sanctified in that place. That was exhibited, and that I think also helped. So apart from the historical material and the archaeological material, this also convinced the people.
ये जो आपने कहा था कि बिलीफ वो एस्टेब्लिश हुआ, वो किन किन चीज़ों से हुआ, उसके फैक्टर्स क्या थे? कि बिलीफ की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, आस्था का विषय एक था, पर यहाँ पर अरसे से पूजा होती रही, ऐसे कौन से रिकॉर्ड पर आपने मटेरियल फैक्ट्स रखे थे? साथ में आपने एक जिक्र ये भी किया कि दुनिया भर से कुछ लोगों के आपने उनके किताबों के या उनके लेख के कुछ संस्मरण भी उसमें शामिल किए। तो वो कौन सी चीज़ें थी जहाँ ये एस्टेब्लिश हुआ करके?
नहीं, हम जैसे हमारा एंशियंट लिटरेचर से हमने, वी हैड टेकन आउट ऑल द मटीरियल एंड देन शोड टू द कोर्ट हाउ दिस साकेत नकला, साकेत रामा had been referred to in various material and literature, and we were able to produce that. And also the fact that here there was, where was the temple, where was his place of birth, where, all the palace, where was it established, all these, Sarayu River, the whole thing is seen in our ancient literature, and this material also we could produce.
वंदनाथन जी, जो लोग श्री राम जन्मभूमि के विरोध में उसके मस्जिद होने के पक्ष में लड़ रहे थे, वो कभी कभी बड़े अजीब अजीब लॉजिक लाते थे। ऐसे भी लॉजिक थे जो शायद हमारे सिस्टम से अलग हैं और वो अजीब सवाल पूछा करते थे। वो सवाल कौन से थे जहां आपको काउंटर करते समय कभी कोई दिक्कत आई, मुश्किल आई, तकलीफ आई, या लगा कि नहीं इनके जो काउंटर हैं इनको ईजिली ख़त्म कर सकते हैं?
नहीं, एक तो उन्होंने ऑब्जेक्शन जो लिया कि यहाँ जो मास्क है, इफ़ यू से दैट प्लेस हैज़ डिविनिटी, नाउ once a mosque is established, then it is of significance for the Muslims also. But the problem is this: there are, say, lakhs of temples all over. There are lakhs of mosques. It's not every mosque which is of significance. One can say, yes, Mecca, Medina, things like that, or even in Jerusalem, the old mount. Now, these are mosques of significance. There, even if somebody wants to demolish that and then have something else, I think the sentiments of people all over will say that no, I think it's a matter of significance. Equally, people all over the world see this as a place. It's not that Lord Ram was, I mean, that Lord Ram was born here is the faith and belief of people from all over. No, it's not that he was born in Nagpur or in Bombay or Delhi. It's in Ayodhya, in this particular place, in a small area that the whole thing was converged. And we could show from literature, identify specifically the place. We could, I mean, those material have been produced and have been dealt with by the Supreme Court. Therefore, these are of such huge significance. I think for anybody to say, therefore, it's why only this place? Why not 3 kilometers away? That can't. I mean, that's not acceptable. It's not any temple anywhere for Ram in Ayodhya, even in Ayodhya. In Ayodhya, the particular place. That, I think, it was a difficult task, but I think ultimately we were able to accept. But the curious thing was, one of the council argued, place of birth will be one small room. You don't need a huge place like this. So one had to deal with this kind of frivolous objections also and say that if Ram was born in a palace, it can't be in a small room of 6 feet by 8 feet. It may be ultimately the mother gave birth to the child in a small place, but that doesn't mean that it is only that which is of significance. You can't say that only have that place and not anything else. That was anyway. These are some. I mean, as lawyers, some people do raise these objections.
अंत में आपकी जो मेहनत रही, आपकी टीम की पूरी मेहनत रही, और मंदिर की प्राण प्रतिष्ठा का अब है। लोगों को आप, खासतौर पे राम भक्तों को, जो आपको इस समय एक बड़े स्वरूप में देखते हैं कि आपने जो किया शायद वो करना, या आपकी टीम ने जो किया, बैठे हैं सामने, वो शायद किसी और के लिए संभव नहीं था। भगवान ने आपको चुना, इसलिए आपको भी एक भव्य स्वरूप में वो सब देखते हैं। उनके लिए आपका क्या कहना है? मंदिर बन रहा है, राम भक्त पूरे उत्साह में हैं, उल्लास में हैं, उमंग में हैं, उनके लिए आपको क्या कहना है?
Be happy, worship the Lord, and be at peace with everyone. That's I mean, to my little mind, that is the message that I would like to convey.
थैंक यू सो मच। आपके साथ जो बात है, मुझे लगता है कि हम सब भी बहुत कुछ सीखे हैं, और जिन राम भक्तों तक ये बात पहुंचेगी उन्हें भी बहुत कुछ पता लगेगा, उनका भी शायद ज्ञानवर्धन होगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you.